Hi, I'm Stacy Andersen, also known as the Supergene. Having lived in 9 cities across 3 continents and counting, Supergene Unleashed features people from around the world sharing their unfiltered versions of female empowerment. With a 20-year global career in digital marketing, operating as a leader and mentor, and now as a wife and mother of 3, I encourage you to unleash your own Supergene and become the most empowered version of yourself. Here is your advocate, ally, and confidant. I am ready to inspire you. Let's show the world what it's all about. Welcome back to another episode of Supergene Unleashed. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. It's just me, and I'm getting raw, I'm getting real, and I'm talking about things honestly. I'm extremely tired right now, but nonetheless, I wanted to take a moment while I am in this current state, which is pregnant with twins, to talk about what it feels like, the massive change, how much different it is, and really dive deep before the twins are actually born and I forget everything. So what I wanted to share with you guys is that actually this is my second pregnancy. So I already have a daughter. She's a little bit more than 2 years old. And my husband and I always knew that we wanted to have a second child. My husband's actually an only child. And so he was really adamant about our daughter not being an only child and that, it would be much more fun if our daughter had a sibling. So of course I was on board and, thinking, okay, sure, I could see his point. All my friends who have more than one, I can see how the kids entertain each other. And so we decided to try. And actually, I got pregnant immediately, which was quite crazy because I didn't think that it would happen this quickly. And so once I found out I was pregnant, we went to the doctor and we found out that, okay, I don't even remember how many weeks along I was, maybe like 7 weeks or something like this. And basically, the doctor's able to do an early scan and she could see one baby. She confirmed a heartbeat, which is amazing. And we were on our merry way. We left our doctor's office thinking, okay, great. I feel good. Fortunately, it happened quickly, easily, and we were really grateful for that. And then we had to go back to the doctor a couple of weeks later. That's just how things are here in Dubai. You kind of go pretty frequently when you're in the first trimester. And the doctor starts scanning me and she asks if there are any twins in the family. And I was like, no, not at all. And she says that she sees a second baby. And I'm like, what do you mean you see a second baby? I was like, that's not possible. There was only one baby a couple of weeks ago. And she was like, yeah, hold on. Because I started freaking out and thinking, my goodness, this is just completely and utterly nuts. And so as she continues to scan, she's like, yep, confirmed twins. And my husband and I, basically our jaws dropped out. She at this point saw 2 babies. She confirmed 2 heartbeats. Look, I could see it myself. It was on a huge screen TV as she was scanning me. And I just really was in complete disbelief. Honestly, I was just so shocked. And I said to her, there's no way that this machine is accurate. Your machine has to be having a problem. Are you sure that this isn't, video from somebody else that you saw earlier in the day? And she was like, no, confirmed twin pregnancy. And we were just so incredibly shocked. So we left the doctor's office and honestly, we were pretty stunned and unable to even speak in the car ride home. We had gone from this image of, okay, we're going to be a family of 4. A family of 4 is convenient. It's an even number. You have 2 kids, 2 adults, 1 kid per adult. You can easily get a table of 4 at a restaurant. All of the little things when you think about how many kids you want, we were always discussing being no more than a family of 4. So we were, of course, in the back of our minds, don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound ungrateful. We were very grateful, but we were just very shocked because how is it that you missed the second baby on the first ultrasound? And I was thinking, shit, if I go back in a couple of weeks, is there going to be a third baby? So anyways, I pretty much had a hard time accepting this. I personally refused to believe that this was true. I really, in my mind, I thought there's no way that this is true. I couldn't accept the news. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, okay, I don't even want to tell anybody because I want to go back to the doctor and have her scan me again on a different day. And let's see, is this really true? But we did tell our moms. My husband's mom almost fell out of her chair, and my mom was so stunned. I think she's still stunned to this day. And so anyhow, a few weeks later, sure enough, we went back to the doctor because again, you're in that critical first trimester. Honestly, don't remember how far along I was at that point. Maybe very close to finishing the first trimester. Maybe not. Anyways, she again confirmed that it was twins. It was very clear as day on the ultrasound that it was twins. Heartbeats still going strong. Thank goodness. Everything was amazing. Both were measuring the exact same size. And so at that point in time, we really had no choice but to embrace the fact that we were now going to be twin parents. And from that moment forward, my husband and I really kind of went through this whole mental adjustment phase where we were now accepting that twins were the reality of the matter. But now we were getting a bit practical about our plans and trying to think about, well, what does this exactly mean? Because with our first, I gave birth in Denmark and we live in Dubai, and that's a whole nother story. And I was thinking that, of course, I would want to give birth again in Denmark just because it's familiar to me. I know the hospital, I know the routine. But at that point in time, I was also fairly new in a job. I had recently started a new job. And when I started the job, I actually didn't know I was pregnant. So this was adding even more mental stress to try and figure out what exactly am I going to do. But we navigated through this period and started uncovering that, okay, twins can be quite special. Actually, we read that only 1 in 250 pregnancies, I think that's it, are twin pregnancies. At least it equates out to not even 1%. So we felt, wow, okay, this must be pretty special. And we were also thinking about, okay, it could be cool to have twins, watch them interact with each other. They're basically built-in best buddies. And we also had decided at that point in time that we wanted to find out what we were having. Is it 2 boys, 2 girls, a boy and a girl? And with our first, we actually never found out the gender. We wanted a complete surprise, which, sidebar, that was the most amazing experience ever. It was just so cool. In this day and age with digital and technology, it's so hard to have a surprise. So we felt like this is one of the times in life where you can have a genuine surprise. And so finding out as soon as I gave birth that it was a girl, it was just really cool. So anyhow, we already decided that we had enough of a surprise with being told it was twins that we wanted to know the genders. So at this point in time, we were just kind of going through the motions. In terms of pregnancy, honestly, the physical difficulties didn't really kick in until some time. However, I will say it was much harder from the beginning in the sense that I felt sick, where I didn't feel sick the first time. I also noticed that with working out, my pulse was literally through the roof. Doing the most basic exercise, I was pretty much breathless, which is completely out of character for me. So this was also a struggle point for me because I was used to being very active, working out, really not having any issue. But now I'm growing 2 people in me. I mean, literally right now, I'm 3 people sat in one chair. That is just completely wild. And in terms of the physical intensity, this really became challenging here in the late second trimester because I just got so huge. I mean, I have 2 people inside me again. I have 2 placentas. I have 2 individual sacs, 2 whole humans. So of course, I'm going to be much bigger than somebody who's pregnant with 1. There's just no way around it. And so I probably reached full term, meaning like a full mature pregnant person with 1 baby, which is 40 weeks. I pretty much reached that, a couple of weeks ago. And right now, well, tomorrow I'll be 32 weeks exactly. And I am looking like I'm more than full term. And so this physical strain has been so difficult because honestly, just moving is hard, let alone walking, let alone sitting. I mean, even sitting starts to hurt. My tailbone hurts, my back hurts. I can't sit for long in the same position. Never mind sleeping. Sleeping is a whole nother Olympic sport. Thank God I have this pillow, the BB Hug Me. If I didn't have that pillow, I don't even know that I would be getting much sleep. Though then again, I have also started to snore and my husband's basically not sleeping. And I even am waking myself up from the snoring. But all of that aside, the physical strain is also back to the growth and the size is that it's much more difficult to find clothes to fit. And frankly, I don't know, this is kind of an untapped market, I think, because it's really hard to find cute, stylish maternity clothes that make you feel good. However, shout out to Bay the Label. It's an Australian brand. I was targeted like crazy on Instagram, and normally I don't fall into that, but I thought, okay, let me give it a shot. A lot of their stuff actually looks cute, and I can say that their clothes are great quality, good price point, and I can see that many of the things will work great for postpartum as well. So I've had to basically get a whole nother wardrobe to accommodate the body changes. I'm starting to swell up. My fingers, I definitely cannot get my wedding rings off. That's a lost cause. And so in terms of the physical part, it's just really hard because with my first and with having only 1 baby, you don't really get that big until the last weeks. So with this, it's just so much harder. The baby that's the furthest down, it's the boy. So actually we did find out it was a boy and a girl. And the boy is the one that's furthest down. And when he moves, I mean, I freak out. I'm like, God, is he going to like punch through and come out the other side? I mean, seriously, it's so weird. I have a total of 8 limbs moving at any given point, 4 legs, 4 arms. And that sensation in the whole area of basically from my boobs downwards, I feel them moving. And that means that they're punching up against my bladder. I literally feel like I have to pee every 5 minutes. I go to the bathroom and then I'm like, oh, well, I could go again. Anyways, it surely sounds here like I'm having a bitch fest and I'm complaining, and maybe I am a little bit because I am very tired right now. And I'm normally not one to complain. However, my intention with documenting all of these things about the physical challenges is to share it with anyone who's listening who is also in the throes of pregnancy or being pregnant with twins or even 1 baby. And maybe it's just taking a huge physical and mental toll on your body. And that's really what this episode is all about, is the fact that I don't think women are given enough credit for how much pregnancy, childbirth, and the transition to motherhood takes a toll on an individual. And it's something that I think is just now really starting to be talked about. From my perspective, when I was growing up and things, and what I can remember from many women that I interacted with up until I became a mother, so many women hide behind a veil. They don't want to show their vulnerability with facing the challenges of pregnancy and the transition to motherhood. But you read the statistics, you read the science behind it, you read what happens to a mother's brain, her body, physical changes. I'm talking biochemical changes that actually change how we think. They're real. And this has a toll on people, but yet I don't know if people are afraid to show that vulnerability, if they're afraid to not appear strong enough. But I'm here today to show you that even me, the supergene, can get knocked down, and that it is okay to be knocked down. It is okay to take a sigh, take a deep breath, and be in that moment where you're feeling that monstrosity of whatever you're facing. And in this case, for me, it was the twin, and it still is the twin pregnancy, finding out about the twins, having to cope with that. And then the physical changes, having to cope with that, which, by the way, it's not going to get any easier from here on out. Side note, really funny story. Actually, I had a girl say to me, "Oh, is it getting any easier?" And I just kind of laughed to myself, thinking, wow, okay, I don't think you know much about pregnancy, because it certainly does not get any easier as each day goes by. And matter of fact, it only is going to get harder. The other thing that's wild about all of this is the fact that my medical insurance only considers this as a single delivery, which clearly shows that the policymaker was either a man or had done absolutely no research on twin births, or potentially both. Whereas giving birth to the twins that I have, and I say that I have because actually there's multiple types of twins out there. And for the kind that I have, it's 2 separate sacs, 2 separate placentas, 2 separate babies. And so, yes, it is 2 back-to-back births. Literally, it's 2 back-to-back births. And to get a little graphical for those that might have no idea what a birth even entails, which, by the way, would have been me a few years ago. So basically, my water will break. I'll birth a baby. Then my water will break for the next baby. I'll birth a second baby. And then I'll birth 2 placentas. So that's pretty much birthing 4 things in one go. And so it's just nuts that an insurance would only consider this as a single delivery. And I tried to fight them, by the way. I said, actually, the twins could have separate birthdays. And the person on the phone was like, "Oh, really?" I said, "Well, yeah, if I gave birth at 11:58 to the first baby, and the second one was born after midnight, that's 2 different birthdays." Anyways, I digress. I didn't win the argument. It is still only being covered as one birth, but that's just a general PSA that obviously the system is not designed to support women either. When you layer in all of these things, the changing body, the emotions, also being a working mom. So I had mentioned earlier that I had recently started a new job, and I also have been working on this podcast. I was really just trying to manage it all. And unfortunately, I got to a point where I needed to leave my job because it just became too much in terms of working. And my husband and I ultimately decided that I would like to give birth in Denmark, and we will be away for several months. And so I just want to make sure that I have as much peace and tranquility in my mind for this upcoming transition, because I know that it's going to be a lot. And I know that from becoming a mother the first time. This was a very huge transition for me. I became a mom at a late age. And up until that point, I was a very career-oriented woman. My husband and I basically did what we want when we wanted, traveled where we wanted when we wanted. We never really lived on a schedule. We were very spontaneous. And then once we became parents, all of that was flipped on its head. But for me, it was even more so. And this is where the important part of a man's role and a woman's role comes into play. And unfortunately, this is just the way that we are as humans. We cannot change the fact that the mother is so attached to the baby, especially if you decide to breastfeed. And so it's just the dynamic and the roles that you have to assume. These are deep rooted in us as a species. And so I remember when my daughter was born, it was just such a tough transformation because all of a sudden I went from having all this time for myself and being able to focus on myself to having a whole nother human completely dependent on me. Something as simple as taking a shower. I wasn't able to do that. I mean, in the early days, she was crying. She wanted to be fed almost constantly. And also nobody ever told me that, oh, for breastfeeding, all the books that I read were bogus. They basically said, oh, you would be feeding your baby 8 times a day or however many times it was, every 3 to 4 hours. Well, that definitely was not the case. What I've learned that in fact, it's the opposite. If you want to breastfeed in order to get your supply going, you really have to basically do it around the clock. So it was just very difficult and very exhausting. And right now, as I am sat here pregnant with twins, I do feel a little bit more confident going into the newborn stage. Yes, because now I know what to expect. However, at the same time, it's twins. And so for this, it is definitely making me feel like I honestly have no idea how this will go. And I feel like I'm almost being tossed right back to ground zero. But at the same time, I've now really embraced the fact that we are having twins. I'm excited. I feel special. I feel a part of this unique community because it is so rare that I get to experience this in life. And for that, I'm truly grateful. And I really hope that everything continues to go well, knock on wood. And what I really want to close out with here is I want to take this moment to make a really powerful message to women who might be pregnant for the first time or even the second or third time, is to not forget that we aren't either or. We aren't one dimensional. We can be both scared and terrified, but we can also be excited and grateful. We can be career driven, but we can also be nurturing. So I really want you to walk away with this to know that yes, it can be difficult. Yes, the transformation and the change is real, but it is temporary. It's one day at a time. And soon, once you've had your child or had your second or third or whatever the case may be, because each transition, it's a transition. At some point in time, it will become your new normal. And you will wake up and you will see that as your new life and you'll love it. And in fact, you'll even forget the life that you came from and you won't be able to imagine it any other way. And so the final thing that I will say is this is in a world where women are constantly boxed in, don't keep yourself in the box. Be true to yourself, stay true to your heart. And as you embrace motherhood, know that there's so many other women out there that are going through exactly the same thing. It is okay to feel the struggles. It is okay to feel the highs and the lows. And so if you've ever felt guilty for not feeling over the moon every moment of pregnancy, this is just your reminder that you're human and you're strong. You're allowed to have mixed emotions. And if you've just found out that you're having twins, well, welcome to the club. It's overwhelming and beautiful and so, so real. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really wanted to record this before I have the twins so that I can remember it. And maybe when I'm on the other side, I'll have a follow-up to compare how things went. And until next time, take care of you and never forget that your super gene is already inside of you and that you can handle this too. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you feel empowered from the episode. You can connect with me at supergeneunleashed.com and on Instagram at supergeneunleashed. Please share your thoughts, and I look forward to connecting with you. And until next time, keep on shining and showing the world your super gene.